We start out with the first 7-country study survey of the Dalmatian coast in September 1958. Here are two of our principal investigators at the Hotel Jadran in Tucepi near Split. On the days before the formal opening of the surveys. These are the visiting nutritionists. Ratko Buzina, who is our local host and principal investigator for Croatia, and we borrow a World Health Organization Jeep for arrival at our first community survey in Tucepi. The roads are terrible. They've not been repaired since Napoleon's engineers on the way to Egypt. And so Key's arriving with guests Erik Sederqvist, Ansel in his Carmen Gia, imported to Europe for the surveys. Arriving outside our examination center, Dr. Keyes in Bermuda shorts and jacket, a young, at that time, 54-year-old man, at the height of his powers, just beginning the iconic 7-country study, setting up a lunch table, beginning our lunch with fresh figs plucked from the trees. Aravanis and his wife Tula, his principal investigator for the Greek area. Arpad Han, distinguished internist from Zagreb. And a patient fisherman in the Adriatic. This is the port of Makarska, a major community near our set of villages. And this is the arrival of the ship bearing Nellie Truckmay Blackburn to join me for 1 week during the first week of the survey. Here is Nellie arriving, buns and all. After the first week of survey, we take Sunday off for a picnic of the crowd, leaving Dr. Keyes and Mrs. Keyes behind in the hotel. This is Nellie, along with Brojek's wife, Eunice, and this is Flaminio Fidanza, our vivacious Italian colleague, rocking the boat. Silke Tiefenbach, the assistant to the Professor Buzina. The ship simply puts ashore by running onto the rocks, the rocky beaches, laying down a plank in which we descend and reascend as we continue to look for an ideal picnic spot along the coast. Fidanza dealing with private business and finally realizing he's being photographed, turns his back. Söderqvist was a colleague of Gunnar Björk's in Stockholm and joined us for this first survey. He was also an excellent pianist, though we were not very successful in playing jazz together. Here we found a natural arch and are putting ashore for the picnic. Flaminio and my wife Nellie, the vivacious Italian and French lady. We have worked steadily for a full week and very much enjoying this stay in the sunshine of September. I, of course, wore protective gear against radiation. Here's our plank back to the boat, picnic over. Taking along a couple of the nuns for the trip back north. And here we are on a fishing expedition with local partisans who invited us along for a Sunday fishing the following week. Joshka Broszek finishes off a beer. These are the anchovies that we plan to have for breakfast. And these are the baited hooks. 3 kilometers of baited hooks laid out, supported by gourds. We lay the long line and then go to the neighboring island of Var, Hvar, for our late breakfast. Setting out the lines. Very friendly fishermen. Sharing a little morning prosecco, the local sweet wine. We arrive on the island to build a fire to grill our fishes. And are met by local fishermen. And the waters of the Adriatic were very clear in those days, though the fishing was poor. After I had eaten a few bites of these fishes, I happened to lift the skin and found that flesh was full of ascarids that were still moving, fish worms. I quietly went behind a rock and lost my breakfast, and have since been assiduous in assuring that fishes were well cooked. Now we return to pick up our lines that we've left for several hours. Fishing is poor, often skates like this that they eat with relish, and an occasional fish, but not a great yield for the energy put into baiting those hooks.